Welcome to the Forgotten Press, where we uncover the stories behind the headlines history forgot. I'm Amber, and today we're diving into a story that's been waiting to be told. In part 1, we heard how a Hungarian immigrant and a Cornell professor stood before the medical world in 1915 with numbers no one had ever seen before and introduced us to Autolysin, the most talked about cancer treatment in America. In part 2, we learn how the medical establishment, wartime politics, and a fight over money turned a promising treatment into a punchline. October 21st, 1915. 4 months after those headlines promised hope to cancer patients across America, the New York Times published 7 words that ended it all. Cancer remedy puts BB out of Cornell. They even misspelled his name, as if the man who had treated 700 cancer patients wasn't even worth getting a name right. But the sub-headline was worse. College objects to doctor's exploitation of Autolysin and ends his department. Read that again. Ends his department. Cornell didn't just fire Silas Beebe. They abolished the entire Department of Experimental Therapeutics. They didn't replace him, they erased the work. Here is what you need to understand. The medical establishment didn't wait for the data to turn against Autolysin. They were hostile from the very first headline. The New York Times had run a story back in May of 1915, a full month before Axford's presentation, and the reaction was immediate. Surgeons disagree on cancer remedy. Professional opinion on merit of latest discovery is greatly divided. Research men skeptical. Dr. Simon Flexner, the director of the Rockefeller Institute, said he knew nothing about it. Dr. Francis Carter Wood at Columbia University said, and this is a direct quote, that the treatment had caused a great deal of laughter among surgeons. He told the press, "I don't think we will bother about it." Laughter. That was the response from Columbia University to a treatment showing results at a major New York hospital. And there was another factor that no one talked about openly. The Lusitania had been sunk by a German submarine on May 7, 1915, 3 days after Beebe and his partners had formed their Autolysin business. Anti-Austrian sentiment was rising across the country, and Autolysin had been discovered by an Austrian. Alexander Horovitz would later be classified as an enemy alien by the Department of Justice. The New York Herald ran its October article about Autolysin on the same page as coverage of the Austrian ambassador's expulsion and reports of Armenian atrocities by Germany's allies. The collision was right there on the newsprint, side by side. By October of 1915, the treatment had been administered to over 700 patients. A companion article in the New York Medical Journal, written by Dr. Henry Smith Williams and Dr. J. Wallace Beveridge, included a detailed table of results. An independent physician in Louisville, Dr. Curran Pope, had even documented 13 of his own cases using, and these are his words, the Horovitz BB extract, Autolysin. The treatment had spread beyond New York, and then the blow came from inside. Dr. Richard Weil had been on the Cornell faculty since 1905. He was Beebe's colleague. Same university, same hallways. And Weil had been watching. He studied 23 Autolysin patients at General Memorial Hospital, and what he found, or what he reported, was devastating. Axford at Polyclinic Hospital reported 1 death in over 200 cases. Weil at General Memorial Hospital reported 14 deaths in 23 cases. 14 dead, 8 showed no improvement. 1 patient improved, but that patient had also received radiation therapy. Out of 23 patients, Weil could not credit Autolysin with a single clear success. He published his findings in the Journal of the American Medical Association on November 6, 1915, and the opening line tells you everything about his intent. "I have received so many requests for information concerning the new treatment for cancer described as Autolysin that I have deemed it advisable to make a public statement on the subject." A public statement, not a research paper. A public statement Weil wasn't just reporting data, he was issuing a verdict. Now, here is the question that no one asked loudly enough. Axford reported 1 death in over 200 patients at the Polyclinic Hospital. Weil reported 14 deaths in 23 patients at General Memorial Hospital. Both were New York hospitals. Both were treating cancer patients with the same drug. How do you get numbers that far apart? Beebe had an answer. He accused Weil of, and this is a direct quote, willfully misrepresenting the data. He said Weil was not acting solely from good motives. But by then, it didn't matter. The Journal of the American Medical Association article gave the establishment exactly what it needed, scientific cover to shut it all down. On October 20th, 1915, the day before Cornell fired him, Dr. Beebe appeared on the front page of the New York Sunday, and he told the reporters something remarkable. I did leave the Cornell University Medical School, and I imagine I left under some pressure. I don't quite understand it. The man who founded a cancer research organization, who treated hundreds of patients, who published in medical journals, says he doesn't understand why he was pushed out. And then he made a second claim that would come back to haunt him. No financial interest, direct or indirect, in the treatment beyond the fees received from such of his patients as are able to pay. No financial interest. That's what he told the press. But back in May 4th, 1915, Beebe, along with Dr. A. Judson Quimby and Dr. J. Wallace Beveridge, had formed a formal business partnership to administer Autolysin commercially. They'd rented an office at 25 East 60th Street in Manhattan. They'd spent $10,000 fitting it out. They had agreed to split the profits equally. $10,000 in 1915 is roughly $300,000 today. Either Beebe lied to the newspaper, or he was drawing an extremely narrow legal distinction between the partnership and his personal finances. Either way, the word commercial was about to destroy him. January 1916, 3 months after being fired from Cornell, 3 months after telling the press he had no financial interest, Dr. Beebe and Dr. Quimby walked into New York Supreme Court and sued their own partner. Doctors row over cancer treatment. Beebe and Quimby sue Beveridge to dissolve their partnership, ask court for receiver. The lawsuit was ugly. According to the Newark Evening Star, which published the full details, Beebe and Quimby alleged that Beveridge was not devoting attention to business, that he had taken control of the partnership without consent, and that they had been denied the privilege of examining partnership books. The situation was described as chaotic and entirely disorganized. They wanted the partnership dissolved. They wanted a receiver appointed. They wanted Beveridge restrained from touching partnership money. This was not a scientific debate. This was a business falling apart in open court, and behind all of it was another layer the public barely knew about. A West Virginia businessman named Samuel M. Noyes, who kept an office at 17 East 38th Street in Manhattan, had been controlling the worldwide distribution rights to Autolysin alongside Horovitz. Noyes was blunt about what this was. When asked about the commercial side, he told a reporter, "Mr. Horovitz is a chemist, not a physician, and is not bound by medical ethics. He is at liberty to make as much money out of his discovery as he decently can. I am a layman and expect to make money out of it. There it is." Autolysin was being sold at $24 a dozen ampules, roughly $700 today. 65% was reportedly given away free. But the commercial machinery was real, and it was the commercial machinery, not the science, that gave Cornell its reason to act. July 20th, 1916. A small newspaper in Wahpeton, North Dakota, published an obituary for a railroad executive named George S. Loftus. He had died of cancer at the age of 42. The obituary mentioned that Loftus had taken the Autolysin treatment at Eitel Hospital, Minneapolis, the previous October, and had consulted Dr. Silas Beebe, a cancer specialist in New York. It didn't help. Loftus died anyway, and that obituary, in a tiny paper in North Dakota, is the last known time the word Autolysin appeared in any American newspaper. After July of 1916, the silence is total. No follow-up articles, no medical journal publications, no formal study, no official debunking. The treatment simply vanished, as if it had never existed. Alexander Horovitz was classified as an enemy alien during the war. His name appears in the Department of Justice's Alien Enemy Index. After that, nothing. We don't know what happened to him. And William Homer Axford, the doctor who stood before the Medical Society of New Jersey and reported 1 death in 200 cases, went home to Bayonne. He entered politics. He served 3 terms on the city commission. He became the first 4-year term mayor. He died on September 16, 1942, at his home in St. Petersburg, Florida. He was 67 years old. The Associated Press ran his obituary. Former mayor of Bayonne dies at Florida home. That's the headline. Former mayor. Not a word about cancer, not a word about Autolysin, not a word about the 200 patients or the summer when the newspaper said a cure had been found. Nothing. He was fired for commercial exploitation, but $7.5 million from the Rockefeller family was paying for every brick at Cornell Medical College. What were the conditions attached to that money? Part 3. Follow the money. But first, I want to hear from you. At what point does commercial interest disqualify a medical discovery? And who gets to make that call? Does money in medicine make you skeptical of the science? Tell me in the comments. Then, follow me to part 3. Thanks for watching. There's more to explore at theforgottenpress.com. And if you want to hear more stories behind the headlines History Forgot, subscribe to The Forgotten Press. I'll see you in the archives.